Welcome back to the Florida Relocation Guide YouTube channel. My name is Adam Hancock, and today we release our 2023 updated A to Z breakdown of Venice, Florida. This will be the most comprehensive take you find on this topic on all of YouTube. Without further ado, let's hop in. Okay, let's first start off with a highlight reel. So Venice, Florida, where I stand today, has been ranked one of the best places to live on the coast for multiple years in a row. One of the happiest seaside towns in all of America. It is equipped with a unique landscape and orientation, which gives you really intriguing coastal proximity. You add in a layer of active, intentional outdoor living, and you have a recipe for quite a wonderful mix. All right, section number one of this video, we are going to talk about what is life actually like here in Venice, Florida. And in this conversation, you have to start with the coast. Now, the unique orientation I mentioned in the beginning of the video, what I meant by that was if you take all the beaches in Sarasota and Manatee County, which Venice exists in, Siesta Key, Longboat Key, Lido, Anna Maria Island, all barrier islands. Now that's important because you cross bridges to get to the island. You're either on the beach or you're not, and it very much feels like that. Venice is the first one when you get down on a map as you go down. It's the first non-barrier island. So if you arrive in Venice, it almost feels like the entire town is at the beach, and I can't harp on that enough. All right, so now you are in Venice, you've arrived, and the cool thing about this area in particular is the downtown and the island are one and the same. When people say Venice Island, what they're referring to is downtown Venice. You know, and the main differentiator here is the overall feel. It's a little bit more laid back, a little older crowd, it's historical, it's clean, and a big perk to this entire area is pretty much you could walk to the beach from any single vendor in their entire downtown landscape. And one more point just to tie a bow on the beach and the downtown section is the beaches themselves. So where I stand here is called Venice Beach. And there's not just one to pick from, there's three. Venice Beach would be your more docile version of like a Siesta Key, but you can see behind me, absolutely beautiful. There's a tiki bar to my left here, interesting overall. But then you had Casperson Beach, which sit below this. And if you're someone that likes searching for shark's teeth or shelling, I believe Casperson's technically the shark's tooth capital of the world. And then you add one more layer of Brohard Beach, which contains our only dog beach in the entire county. All right, the second thing for lifestyle I wanted to talk about is outdoor living and intentionality. So when people reach out to relocate with us, and I'm differentiating like Sarasota and Lakewood Ranch and the barrier islands north of us versus Venice, what really stands out to me here is folks definitely on an older scheme, I guess, on average of population for the most part, but not seeking to move to a retirement home. Want to come here and enjoy all the active 300 plus days of sunshine you have in Florida, but in a very like adventurous way. You know, and here you have fishing, you have boating, you have scuba diving. You get very far south here, so the water gets really interesting for not only shelling, but also diving. You have an area that just feels a little bit more protected and dune-esque, almost like a northern beach. You know, I was born in Maryland, so it's almost like a Chesapeake Bay kind of vibe to me a little bit in some ways. But road biking's huge here. You can go for a very long time without having to turn around with the Legacy Trail expansion and all that kind of stuff. You have Oscar Scheer Park and multiple other hiking environments here. And it just feels a little bit more prevalent in that way, if I articulated that well enough, than Sarasota. Okay, the next section I'm calling charming balance. And the reason this has its own full category is because when I'm on this channel doing an A to Z breakdown, I'm looking for differentiators. And I'm doing that because, you know, in a silo, a lot of these towns look very similar. They have the same perks, but that doesn't add you value. You need to know the difference between Venice and St. Petersburg and Hollywood, Florida, etc. I think the balance of life here is distinctly different. And what I mean by that is by going slightly south of one and north of another, of more major thoroughfares, Sarasota mainland, Naples, and Fort Myers, Venice, Florida has struck an interesting balance of a little bit more affordability, all the coastal elements, but more laid back, variety of living. There's multiple ways you can live around the same island. A big key is not cookie cutter. You know, people 100% that matters here, where if you like this, you would not like Lakewood Ranch. So when I send people here, if Venice, Florida is for them, they fall in love. They're romantic about it. If it's not, they know right away. And that balance alone, you add safety, #2 rated school district in the entire state. Very, very interesting overall. Okay, and the last thing I'm gonna hit on the back of that other point on lifestyle is schools. Now, the reason this is really important to mention, obviously schools are important on their own, but it's important to mention is where these schools are based. So typically on the coast, like I grew up around Siesta Key, a lot of different coastal towns, and high-rated public schools and being on the beach are not synonymous. They're onesie-twosies. So the chance that you have because of commute times and all that, so the chance you have a kindergarten through 12th on highly rated public schools that you can sustain without paying 30 grand a year is incredibly rare. Now, with Sarasota County being the #2 ranked school district in the entire state when it comes to public schools, a lot of them exist down in Venice, and you're not competing with school choice because most people aren't school choicing their kid 45 minutes south. So then you add a high school of Venice Senior High that's on the island. So imagine tell your kids from 9th to 12th graders, from 14 to 18 years old, they can walk to the beach with all their friends. All those kids live in that district, and it's a big school, great sports, all that. Laurel Nokomis is a 9 out of 10 if you're north of the island. Pineview for the gifted is a public charter and the #1 ranked elementary school in America. You have Montessori, you have a ton of pre-K options, but layering the coastal proximity with the high rated schools, it would be hard to find anywhere other than maybe St. Augustine in the entire state of Florida. All right, part 2 of this video, we are going to talk about where to actually live in Venice, Florida, and there's multiple interesting options. The first being probably the sexiest of the bunch is where I stand today, and that is the Wellen Park, Florida Master Plan development. You know, what began historically as a old school popular Florida retirement place called the West Villages, a couple different neighborhoods across the street from here, completely transformed in the last couple of years and rebranded into something called Wellen Park. And now consists of about 10 neighborhoods across 2 districts, multiple different areas of new homes that you can build in and different price points and all the like. And you know, the first thing I would say that you pull out as interesting is affordability, new construction, and coastal proximity. If you take Florida, and I mentioned a lot about schools, that's not commonality. So if you're not a Lakewood Ranch, Florida person, that's a classic master plan. They went east, they had land. Far from the coast equals land, equals opportunity when it comes to suburban housing. Getting close to the beach and having new construction is not common because all of that already existed. That's been popular for a long time. There's no land to carve stuff out, and if there is, they're doing condominiums. But it's really, they changed that by putting this entire thing, 18 minutes from the first part of the video, which was the beach. 10 neighborhoods to choose from, and it's more affordable because it's technically the outskirts of Sarasota County. A lot of stream of consciousness there, but that's value number 1. Value number 2 is inclusivity. So master plan offers more when you leave your individual neighborhood. Gone are the days where a nice pool and a pickleball court differentiates you from another neighborhood. That is commonality. What people want is they want to live in one neighborhood and not be disconnected from the other 9. And here they're building their own downtown Wellen, which is a full-on proper downtown. So you can drive to where we started the video, but you don't have to. And this is boutiques and shops and live events and all that kind of stuff. Half the neighborhoods, if not more, can walk to it. And then you also have places like behind me, which is Cool Today Park, which is obviously the Brave spring training facility. But the cool thing is not the baseball part, which obviously that's cool, but I believe they do 300 live events of some sort a year here, have a tiki bar that's open almost all year round. So needless to say, once you get to this district, there's not a lot of reasons you need to leave. Okay, number 2, as far as living in Venice, I'm gonna mention is probably the perfect juxtaposition against this one, which would be Venice Island itself, actually living near the beach. And that would be something at least alluring to this area in particular for the reasons I'm about to mention. So one of those things is affordability when it comes to Gulf Coast living in Florida, compared to the other ones. So I actually ran a study, which I mentioned in the past, of the Gulf Coast of Florida. If you want to walk to the beach from your house and you own that home and you're not renting, 25 beach towns on the Gulf Coast, I ranked as you could actually walk to the beach. The cheapest one in cost of living overall, including housing, utilities, groceries, the whole like, Venice Island. So one of the cheapest places to live in the entire state of Florida and be able to walk to the beach, that's one. Number 2, variety of housing. If you don't want full-on suburbia where everything's brand new, then you have a lot of texture on Venice Island. You have historical, you have urban infill new construction on existing lots, which might be a little bigger. It just doesn't look the same on every house, because of the evolution of an old area. Thirdly, I ran to kind of combine those two, I ran, as yesterday when I filmed this video, I ran a analysis of all the homes that were sold in the last 12 months, all property types on Venice Island, including all the listings currently on the market. And when I talk about affordability, I'm not just talking condominiums, because 72% of all of the properties, single family homes. So it's not like you're in this little condo hotel with affordability. So if you're not a full new construction person, then Venice in particular would actually give you accessible, affordable options when it comes to coastal living. All right, the third one I wanted to mention is a geographic play, and that's going north of the island. So where this is important, there's 3 major ways that you'd want to live around Venice. You could be on the island, which I mentioned, or just parallel to it, adjacent to it. You could be south of the island where I stand now, where the perk to that is they had enough room to build master plan neighborhoods, right? So you get a lot of new construction, but you're damn near close to Englewood. Your third option would be to go above it. And it's kind of a sneaky one, but why it matters is because east to west in Venice isn't your issue. If you follow down on a map, as you go south with the shape of Florida, by simply going south, you get closer to the water. East to west isn't the issue, but then you have to decide, is north to south, does it matter? If you come where I stand here, you're 18 minutes from the beach about, right? I drove from part 1 to part 2 right here. You got a lot of new construction, but you get further from Sarasota. If you go north of the island, you're the same distance to the same beach east to west, but you're a lot closer to Siesta Key, downtown Sarasota, the middle of Sarasota. So if you're someone that's a little bit more transient and you're like, you know, I'm not romantic about all my neighbors being like, you know, I'm in an inclusive community, and you're like, maybe new construction, it doesn't matter as much, but I don't want to really cut all of Sarasota off. North Venice, Nokomis, Osprey would be where I would start to look. It's going to feel more sparse, just like if you're shopping random middle city limits of Sarasota. I mean, there's not no new construction. There's Talon Preserve, and there's a Taylor Morrison one, I forgot the name right next to it. You have North Venice has Vincenza, Silo, Aria. They're building some up there, but what the whole play there is you're in between. So north of the island is something I would look at is if you like Venice, but you're also nervous that Wellen Park, where I stand here, is too far south, that would satiate that need. So when it comes to where to live in Venice, beyond those 3 options, which are the major hitters, is definitely where you should start, at least when you're coming to town to tour, and obviously we can help you with all this. But beyond that, you have, you know, golf, you do have boating, you're very coastal, but you're gonna be sitting way more in a resale heavy market if you don't do Wellen Park. You are going to be generally more affordable than Sarasota's mainland, but a similar kind of vibe. Major suburbs, but surrounded mostly by stuff that already existed. There is a pretty heavy amount of like villas and condominiums that are much more affordable than like high-rise type of thing. And it's just basically, if you took Sarasota's mainland and you're like, I could go to Lakewood Ranch or I could go to Palmer Ranch, same thing with Venice, but more laid back and a smaller version of all of it. Lakewood Ranch is 35 neighborhoods, Wellen Park's 10. We don't have a Palmer Ranch, but we have some other random neighborhoods that existed before, but typically people are coming here not as much because of price like they used to, but a lot more because of the general lifestyle feel differences versus Sarasota. All right, part 3 of this video is going to be catch-all speed round of other things you should at least think about. First one being airports, right? That's always common. Most people aren't from here, travelability. So Sarasota doesn't have major international presences that are closer than 60 minutes really anywhere in Sarasota, Manatee for the most part. And Venice, because you go south, you add 15, 20 minutes to that conversation. But if you take that into account and 2 hours isn't far for you, you have some options. You have Southwest Florida International in Fort Myers is probably about an hour and a half one way. You have Tampa International about an hour and a half one way. About 50 minutes one way is SRQ, which is one of the fastest growing airports in America. And a bunch of regional kind of plays. So whether you're traveling from Canada or Europe or just the Northeast United States, you should find easy options. The second one being on proximity is day trip ability. I talk about a lot about Sarasota in general, it sits in an awesome spot. But when you sit here in Venice, because you're south, first off, you're a lot closer to Captiva, Fort Myers, Naples than Sarasota is. So about an hour and 15, you have world-class beaches below you and Naples thoroughfare and shopping area. About an hour and a half to Tampa and St. Pete, which is awesome. You're about, there's a ferry in Fort Myers, and I think there's another ferry in Punta Gorda that'll take you all the way to Key West. So that's right below you. Miami's about 3.5. You can shoot over for the day. Boca Raton, the same. Jacksonville is about 4 hours, 15 minutes. Savannah, Georgia is about 6 hours. So it's an awesome place in the state if you want to shoot around. Third, as far as bonuses, seafood is just commonplace, but here you have like a very much like a tiki beach bar kind of thing. Like it's almost like little like seafood markets is how their restaurants feel. There's some high-end stuff, but it feels like you've arrived to Florida, I would say, is our third bonus. All right, and the last one is always a fan favorite, and that's golf carts. So there's a lot of areas that are like unwritten rules of riding golf carts, and it is friendly technically, but even Lakewood, you're talking a couple miles to get to most of the downtowns from 95% of the neighborhoods on golf cart, which is fine, but here is different. This is a golf cart town. Wellen Park is a golf cart town. The entire Playmore district, which sits behind those trees there, that's the new cool part of Wellen Park as far as neighborhoods go. Not only can you walk to the downtown from most of the neighborhoods, but also the golf carts is something they want. You know, it's gonna be friendly parking for golf carts. All your neighbors are gonna have golf carts. I'm surprised they don't come with the homes, but you're not fighting against it. It's not fighting against the machine of where like sometimes they allow it and sometimes they don't. Here they want it. So if you are a golf cart person, then Venice is your town. All right, my friends, that does it for our A to Z breakdown of Venice, Florida. Really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider subscribing and liking. That really helps us out. If you need any real estate assistance, you're buying, you're selling, you're relocated, please consider reaching out to our group. We would love to assist, whole state of Florida. And finally, go to the URL below, thesunshinestateco.com. I have free tools, resources, additional videos, a lot of stuff you won't find anywhere on YouTube. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you on the next one.